You know, we lost, and obviously it stings, especially considering the fact that the dude that was coaching the other team is former head coach Mike Vrabel. And I'm not going to hang on to that as much as some people in the media space with the Titans have. But I will acknowledge that it does sting a little bit more because it was Vrabel. But there were actually a decent amount of things that I'm interested in after this game. So we'll get into that. But anyway, let's just start out into the intro. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Tennessee Titans Week 5 performance. And I'll just start out by saying this. Look, was it bad? 100% it was. Was there some bad moments from specific players? Also, yes. But do I still think that there were flashes of hope for the future of this organization? Also, yes. So we got to get into this episode, but I want to start out with this. This is kind of an address to the fan base. Guys, come on. Come on. What are we doing? Not as in, I'm not calling out anybody specifically, but just seeing some of those fans show up to the stadium. We miss you, Mike Vrabel. We're sorry. All of this stuff, all that crap. We're such a man. We are a sad fan base. I'm telling you that right now. Or, well, maybe not we are a sad fan base, more than there are some really sad parts of our fan base. I'll put it that way. Dude, I was honestly embarrassed by the fact that we had people holding up those signs, right? You live and you learn. You move on, first off, and second off, even though I do think that Callie was a terrible replacement, and I think that, honestly, and I agree with Stillman on this, which is just insane for me to say, but picking Rand Carthen over Vrabel was a terrible idea. But the message was getting stagnant. That's the first thing, and that's the biggest thing for me. The message was getting stagnant as he went along as the head coach, specifically in his last 2 years with us. And he was also butting heads with leadership. Look, people don't recognize what was going on within the building at that time whenever Mike Vrabel was with them. I'm just saying, I just don't get that crowd of people that will live and die by Mike Vrabel. It makes no sense to me. Look, do I think that he is a very good head coach? Yes. Do I think that the Titans were not in a position to keep Mike Vrabel? Also, yes. So again, just overall, I just wanted to say that, man, I don't like that our home stadium, either it was people who were Patriots fans or it was people who were bringing in posters of sorry Mike Vrabel. Heck, they even started chanting his name at the end of it, which honestly, I mean, I go back and forth with that one. But, and Patriots fans, you deserve to do that, honestly. If there were any Titans fans doing that, though, that's ridiculous. If you were rooting for Vrabel on Sunday or you were trying to kiss his tail or anything like that on Sunday, I just don't know. If you're going to be that way, why even bother being a Titans fan, right? But again, that's just my personal opinion. I know that there are some people that think differently, so let me know what y'all think in the comment section. But anyway, and now that that's out of the way, we can actually get into the game. Okay, I'm going to start out with Cam Ward. Again, I promised y'all that he was not going to be a positive. He was not going to be a negative for the rest of the season. Why? Because I think that the situation around him is so stinking terrible that there's really not that much else that he can do as a quarterback. So let's talk about this. Starting out with, yes, the turnovers are unacceptable. I would give his performance a C plus if it wasn't for that awful fumble at the 5 yard line, and basically that kind of cost us the game in the end. That cost the chance of it being at all competitive. If it wasn't for that fumble, then I would 100% give him somewhere in the B's. I would say, hey, this was a very good, solid showing by him and all that stuff. But golly, that fumble. And the fact that it's happened in back-to-back weeks also doesn't help. But apart from that, I thought that I don't get why people are saying that he was as terrible as he was. Look, the interception was not that great. It wasn't a great throw. He's got to hit that, right? But he still showed some serious stuff on Sunday. And I don't understand why people, look, I don't understand why people out of all games are saying that this game is the one where they're just like, oh, he's a bust, right? I don't get why it's this game. I get why you would want to say it for the Raiders game. I get why you would want to say it for the Texans game, even though that was a little bit too early. And I think even our most ridiculous fans even would agree with that. But, like, this game? Really? Like, this was, to me at least, this was Cam Ward's best game. I know how insane that sounds. And again, it still wasn't great. I gave him a C, and you know that I'm a lenient grader whenever it comes to that stuff. I gave him a C+. Like, it's not like he was amazing, but he improved. That's something that we've been waiting for. He looked a little better, more comfortable, and that's thanks to Mike McCoy simplifying the offense. Look, I'll get into some of the crap that I have for Mike McCoy for his in-game stuff, but I will give him credit for that. Simplifying the offense for Cam Ward made him look a lot more comfortable out there. That's it. But again, and look, there were some bad misses for Cam, but honestly, look, I don't know who the next head coach is going to be, but whoever it is, this management and the interim Mike McCoy himself better drill, better drill into their heads, hey, get this guy's footwork right. Because honestly, I think that Cam Ward is good footwork away from being from being like really, really good. That's just my opinion. Like, I think that he reads the defense pretty well. Obviously, he has a good arm and he's got some decent accuracy. I mean, you saw that throw that he made to Chimere Dike. I'm not even talking about the touchdown. I'm talking about the pass that came before that whenever he fit it right in between two defenders. I'm talking about that pass. That's the pass that's not getting talked about today. But it's just, that was a beautiful, beautiful pass. I was going back and forth with somebody that I was sitting with about that being a good or a bad pass, and I'm just like, hey, if he can fit it in there, then like go for it. And again, I was just happy to see him make one of those throws, one of those gutsy throws. It's one of the reasons that we brought him on, was because, yes, even though some of his throws are going to be stupid, he's at least going to attempt that stuff. And you know, if it gets picked off or batted down, okay, fine. But if it's complete, it's an amazing throw, right? That type of stuff for me at least. So again, Cam Ward, look, I'm just happy that he didn't regress this game, because for the first 6 weeks of the season, he was slowly regressing every single week that he was a quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, right? But this week, he went like barely up, just barely, but he still went up. And honestly, if he can even flatline for the rest of the season, I'll be fine with that. I just don't want him to regress as a player. That's just my 2 cents. But anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, we can get into the positives and negatives. Starting out with the first positive and probably the MVP of this football game. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm was great in this game. He threw some really nice blocks. He was all over the place with, receiving. Like, he was really solid. And I'm not even going to talk about him that much because y'all know it. Y'all saw him. Y'all know that he was really solid in this game whenever he did get the ball and whenever he was blocking. But I want to focus on something else. This opens up a Chig trade. Now, look, everybody's been talking about this week like it is the trade deadline. Like, it's not. We still got 2 weeks before that. So I don't know why people keep acting like next week is the trade deadline. But it is getting pretty close, and honestly, like, we're going to go on a fire sale. Like, I'm saying Chig, maybe McCreary ends up going. I'm not 100% confident on that. Don't take my word for it, but that is something that does have a chance of happening. If Cody Barton or L'Jarius Sneed have any value, I think that they could end up being gone, but honestly, I think L'Jarius Sneed just gets cut at the end of the season. Like, I think we'll try and sell him, but everybody's going to be like, ooh, we don't want L'Jarius. So then he gets cut. But anyway, like, Zeitler could even get traded, and then I don't know who else after that, but yeah, we could go on a fire sale here, and Chig is definitely going to be involved with that. I'm 100% confident about that. Why? Because I feel like that Gunnar Helm got a lot more snaps than he usually does, and again, credit to the coaching staff for at least knowing to give Gunnar Helm a couple of more reps than he has been getting. But again, like, Gunnar Helm was really solid. I think Chig gets traded, and we can get some decent draft capital out of Chig. Like, I'm thinking like a fourth and a fifth, maybe. Like, look, I think that there are a lot of teams that would be really high on Chig and would be interested in bringing him in just because of his yak alone. Anyway, going on to the next positive, T'Vondre Sweat got a sack. I mean, that's really all that there is to it. Like, I didn't think T'Vondre Sweat played like amazing in this game. I think he definitely could have been better, but he got a sack. I mean, that was just fun seeing him do seeing him do that belly dance. Like, that's always fun to see him hit one of those. Anyway, Yeah, no, I thought that T'Vondre Sweat sack was just fun to watch, honestly. And again, that's something that you can be excited about. T'Vondre Sweat for the future. But anyway, we're getting to that. Next thing is Tajay Spears. Again, I think that he should be getting running back one reps because I think that Tony Pollard is starting to wear down a little bit from last season. But Tajay has been absolutely solid whenever he has gotten touches. And I don't get why some people would call him untrustworthy, if you will. Like, I don't get that. Like, I genuinely believe that Tajay Spears is a really solid running back, and I think that he is an exciting player that should be getting more reps. And again, like, I think that he's starting to just, fully recover, and he's getting better with every week. And dude, I want to see Tajay Spears more. I want to see Tajay in slip screens and running the ball. Like, he's shifty, he's powerful, he's good. He's really good, and I really need to see him get some more opportunities as the year goes on, honestly. Tony Pollard, again, that's speaking of which, Tony Pollard could be a trade candidate for all we know. And honestly, I would be completely fine with that because then that would just open up more room for Tajay. And who knows, maybe Khalil Mullins will come back at some point. I don't know if he will. That may have been season ending. I'm not 100% sure. But if he does come back, then maybe he could be a part of that Tajay duo. And I think that he would actually have some decent moments as the running back. But anyway, yeah, Tajay Spears, pretty good game overall. But the last thing that I need to bring in for the positives is, well, the future. I know that people are probably upset about this, being like, Micah, what are you talking about? The future's so bleak. But here's the thing, right? Cam Ward didn't regress for the first time. We know that Alec Manor can be good, even though he wasn't really that great this week, but we'll get to that. Chimere DK, again, like, I didn't put him in here, but he was also really solid. Kevin Winston got to the quarterback. Obviously, T'Vondre Sweat got a sack. Cedric Gray has continued to look like an absolute steal in the fourth. Let me think. Obviously, I mentioned Gunnar Helm, probably the best player in this game as an overall package. Who else is there? There was one more person that I wanted to mention. Oh, yeah, obviously Peter Skoronski, but he feels like a 10-year vet at this point. But I do think that there are flashes of hope with this team. I think that we have some really solid pieces in place to actually become pretty solid. Again, it's going to take a little bit, but I could see we go on that fire sale. We go on that fire sale on the trade deadline. We do decent enough in free agency, bring in like leadership with veterans, but also like they're not terrible, obviously. Like, you bring in some good leadership and some solid players. You go out and you have a decent draft and you go get a good head coach. Like, if those three things happen, this team could be competitive again. I'm not saying that, we're going to the playoffs next year or whatever, but I do think that, yeah, I do genuinely believe that there is a bright future if we just do a couple of right things. Like, I really believe that. And it just starts out with that head coaching hiring. And that's why I do my favorite head coaching candidates every week, because I do think that it starts there. And I think that that's how we get back into relevancy. But anyway, okay, now we got to address some of the icky stuff before we can get into the fun part of the episode, which is the coaching candidates. We got to talk about the negatives. Okay, starting out with Cody Barton. I don't understand why he's not benched yet. Like, I'm not saying that as in, like, like I'm trying to be mindless, like some type of, person that would be like, we need to bench Cam Ward, even though Brandon Allen would be absolutely disastrous in place of Cam Ward. Like, let's be real. But, like, I'm thinking in my mind, like, didn't James Williams almost win the linebacker job in camp over Cedric Gray, who was also really solid? Like, I don't get it. Why is James Williams not getting at least a chance to go out there and start at linebacker? He's been solid on special teams. There's no doubt about that. But I would absolutely love to see him get a chance to actually play in the big boy position at linebacker. I think that I feel like that he did seriously develop over the offseason. He would be great off of the blitz, absolutely amazing off of the blitz. But I don't understand why he's not starting over Cody Barton, because Cody Barton, he's getting slower. He is doing weird dropbacks. Like, I remember on 4th and 4, he dropped back 10 yards, which was really stupid. If he would have just even dropped back a little less than that, maybe he is able to stop Kayshon Boutte from making just one of the most insane catches I think I have seen for a 4-yard gain, but like, I don't understand that. part of it. But I just don't look, I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't think there was somebody behind him that could perform. I think James Williams can perform if he's given the chance, but that comes with benching Cody Barton and at least seeing what he has. I'm not saying that you need to go all in and start him, but I'm just saying maybe give him one game, one quarter, maybe a half to see what he has. And I think that he could show to be pretty solid. And that's another person that we could put on the fire sale. If Cody Barton has any interest across the league, I would love to trade Cody Barton and let James Williams come in because we're focused on the future right now. We are not focused on keeping ourselves in the past. We want to go into the future and we just want to see what could happen because James Williams could be really solid. He could be absolutely terrible. But I would love to see James Williams at least get the chance to play so that way we can know, okay, is our linebacker position set or do we need to go out and get someone else? Because I genuinely believe that if James Williams were to start and to play good, it would be that would be huge for us because then we don't have to focus on linebacker, which has been such a just complicated and confusing situation for us, that linebacker position. It would be nice to have some clarity there. But anyway, yeah, I just don't get why Cody Barton's not starting, or Cody Barton is starting. But anyway, the next negative that I have is coaching. Ironically, after my rant about why is James Williams not even given a chance, comes immediately as I say the defensive coaching was absolutely terrible yesterday. I don't know what to say. I was wrong about Denard Wilson. I thought Denard Wilson was a good defensive coordinator with a terrible football team, but I just don't believe that anymore. I do think that this defense is fine. Usually it is. But I think that this game revealed Big Jeff is a one-man wrecking crew. Whenever he goes out, the schematics fall apart and everybody ends up being terrible. That is what happens whenever Big Jeff is out of the game. Which, by the way, big shout out to Big Jeff because he has been the only person that's been consistently contributing to this team since week 1. And he got hurt, which I really hate. I really, really hate that. But it is what it is at this point, right? You can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about Big Jeff getting hurt, apart from maybe give him an extension to make him feel a little better. Because honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm all in on keeping Big Jeff until he's old. Because again, Big Jeff, those types of defensive linemen, they stay good for a while. Calais is still in the league, and he's playing really good. Chris Jones is still in the league, and he's been playing pretty solid, but obviously, his one moment with that whole Trevor Lawrence going into the end zone thing, that was a little weird. But outside of that, he's still playing fine. Look, that's a position that ages really well, and we need to keep him. But anyway, no, going back to coaching. Again, just there's not that much else to say, but still not great overall. Look, Mike McCoy, he was an upgrade over Callie. Is that really saying much though? It's not like that he was, I'll say this, it's not like he was as terrible as Brian Callahan. At least that's what it felt like, but he still was pretty bad. I mean, specifically at the end of the first half, whenever you have all 3 timeouts, you have a minute left to go down and score, maybe take the lead after the first half. I wonder how different things would look if we could have tried to go down there, even kick a field goal at the end of the first half. I'm very curious about what would that have looked like? Does Cam Ward get his confidence and his moxie up, and then that means that he goes out there and he ends up playing really solid? Does that happen, or what happens if we get that drive at the end of the first half? We'll never know because of bad clock management. But again, for anybody that was thinking, I'll actually get to that later. Again, just overall, not really a good day from the coaching staff. Next thing, L'Jarius Sneed. Look, I have a bone to pick with L'Jarius Sneed. It's not even because, of his the fact that he's not good or that he's overpaid or whatever, but it's just that I feel like that he's playing lazy. He's so lazy. Ever since he got that contract, he has just not been good. He's backing off of Kayshon Boutte, letting him run right by him. He's getting absolutely mossed by Austin Hooper. He let up a perfect passer rating yesterday. That is ridiculous. Yesterday, as in I'm recording this on a Monday, 3 days ago whenever you're watching this. But just absolutely horrible by L'Jarius Sneed. So bad. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, he started talking trash, then Nico Collins got a 30-yard reception on him. That shut him up real fast. But that's another dude that could be on the chopping block at the trade deadline. But honestly, what I really see happening is that he ends up getting traded. He'll definitely get traded, in my opinion. Like, I think he'll end up getting traded if he has value, but he will 100% be off of this team by March. I have no doubt about that in my mind. But anyway, not going to hold on to that one for too long because I know that people are tired of hearing of it. But next negative is wide receivers minus Chimere Dike. I already hinted at this earlier. Alec Eomanor wasn't really that great. And Tyler Lockett, again, is just old. Van Jefferson, again, had some nice moments. Are we in the upside down whenever it comes to that? Like, that's the weirdest thing is that Van Jefferson has been one of the more reliable receivers for us. But again, there's just not that much to say. Mason Kinsey made a cameo. That was fun. But gosh, I just don't know what to say about that. Chimere Dike was really solid, and I'm really hoping that he keeps getting used by whoever the next coach is. Anyway, last two criticisms. One of them was just the fan base. Again, you know why I started out with that. But then my Mike McCoy's chances at head coach, I think, went way down after this. You lose to the Patriots, but not only that, you get absolutely crushed by the Patriots, a team that Amy really dislikes because of Vrabel. Like, look, I think that if he won this game, his chances would have shot up. He would have at least been like somebody that Amy would force the staff to be like, hey, you got to look at him. Right. And he had a chance to do that, and he just completely flopped. So, again, Mike McCoy, he's not a good head coach, but I don't know. He's a fine interim. I do believe that still. Like, I still think that he is a fine interim to, like, get some basics back into the team and all that stuff, but I don't think that he's a long-term guy. But you know who are? My top 5 head coaching candidates. Let's get into this. Starting out with honorable mentions, Joe Brady got pushed down to honorable mention this week. Not for any other reason apart from, honestly, the more that I think about it, the more I feel like that Joe Brady's offense without an elite quarterback, not saying that that's bad, I'm saying that Joe Brady's offense without an elite quarterback in the NFL isn't really that great. Like, I think that his offense is amazing in college, and I think that he should think about at least taking the Penn State job. But in the NFL, I'm starting to think that, hey, maybe the schematics aren't, like, enough. You know what I mean? But again, like, I could be completely wrong about him. Like, the Bills could come out and score, like, 40 to... do they play tonight? Let me look. They may be on a bye week. No, they're on a bye week. Yeah, they could come out next week and score 50 on the next person that they play, and this could look really bad. But I don't know. I just don't see it. Flores and Gruden are on here. They could, like, Flores specifically could make my top 5 if he wasn't suing the NFL. If neither of these guys were suing the NFL, these would be, like, Flores may be my number 1 if that was the case, because I do think that he would have enough of a McDaniel connection to bring him in as his offensive coordinator. But again, it's just because of him suing the NFL that I'm just like, I'm going to pass on that, right? Well, not me personally, but that will be the Titans administration's thoughts because, again, the Titans ownership for some reason are like NFL stooges. I don't get it. Sorry about that, but I don't know. I just think that's how it feels. And I'm not even trying to say that as in like, that's a terrible thing. It's a fine thing, but again, it's going to hold us back from hiring guys like Flores or Gruden. My last honorable mention is Arthur Smith, just because of the familiarity with Amy and the fact that he's been doing really well at offensive coordinator. Again, I still stand by this. He could be in my top 5. But the first thing that I would have to hear the first thing that I would have to hear out of the interview, before he even sits down, before any introduction happens, you ask him immediately, are you going to use your star players? If he doesn't give you a direct answer, that means no, kick him out immediately. If he says, yes, I will use my star players, I won't do any of that bull crap that I was doing down in Atlanta where I was trying to draw up routes for Michael Pruitt and Zacchaeus. Like the Bible character Zacchaeus, like I'm going to actually do what I think is best for our star players. Then I can be like, okay, maybe there's something there. But as it stands, probably not my favorite coaching candidate if he were to get hired and he were to have not learned his lesson from that. But anyway, So now we go into number 5, and I'm going to start out with this. This is from now on going to be the dedicated former head coaching spot. This is going to be a rotation of guys that were former head coaches. I think, hey, maybe they have a chance at getting a crack at the job. And these guys won't move out of number 5. You're not going to see like McCarthy move up to 1 or something like that, right? And spoiler alert, it's not Mike McCarthy this week. I feel like I've had him out there a lot, and you've heard my 2 cents on him. So we'll go with number 5. Had him at number 3 at one point. Robert Saleh. Now, here's the thing, right? I know that some people are low on Robert Saleh because of some of his weird stuff that was happening at the end of his Jets career. But you got to think about this. There is a very good chance that, hey, maybe it was just because the Jets are dysfunctional. Now, look, we're not all that functional, but I'll tell you this. We're more functional than the Jets. I 100% believe that. Amy, look, I give Amy a lot of crap, but I am also one of her defenders at the same time. She's not that bad. She's not great, but she is not that bad as an owner. She's not like the Browns owner, the Jets owner, the Cardinals owner even. Like, I don't think that she is that bad as an owner. Like, I think that if you put the right people in place, she's fine, right? So, again, Robert Saleh, I think that he could come in here. I think that he brings some life back to this defense that so desperately needs it. Because here's the thing, right? One of his biggest criticisms in New York was his run defense. And here's the thing, right? The thing about the run defense is that we already have had that covered for years now. Big Jeff and Tavondre Sweat are not letting anything through that, at least whenever they're healthy together, right? Like, they're not going to let any type of running backs get through. That's obvious enough. So you bring in a guy that's been known for having great passing defenses as your head coach, and I think that that brings some life back into this defense. I don't think it's like top 5 or anything after a year. I mean, for goodness sake, year 1 under Saleh, his defense was terrible, but it still worked, right? Like, it still was not the worst thing in the world. Well, yeah, no, it wasn't great. But then whenever he got to settle in, get a couple of players that he liked, his defense was top 5, right? And look, this is another one where, again, you sit down, you talk to him, but this time you save it for the end of the interview. You ask him, can you guarantee me that you can get Mike McDaniel and his OC? Because if he can do that, if he can get Mike McDaniel and if Robert Saleh can get Mike McDaniel, you hire him. I don't care what you think about that. Look, Robert Saleh, he had some weird things with the locker room, but again, you can blame that on Aaron Rodgers because whenever Aaron Rodgers doesn't have somebody that can seriously crack down on him, he's a loose cannon, right? You've seen that with other even good head coaches, like Matt LaFleur wasn't able to get a hold of him. Mike McCarthy wasn't able to get a hold of him. The only head coach that's been able to get a hold of him is Mike Tomlin, and he is widely known for being able to take care of divas really easily. So, again, like, I don't think you can put too much of that on Saleh. But his defense was always good. His teams were always disciplined. He never had terrible clock management decisions. Okay, maybe one time against Detroit. But outside of that, he has been good on clock management. He has done everything right as a head coach, except for the fact that he had one of the worst quarterback rooms in the entirety of a head coach's career, right? Like, genuinely, it was so bad. I saw the list. There is nothing good in there. Nothing. Maybe you could have made it work with Joe Flacco, but even then, it still isn't great. Like, look, personally, I think that if he brought back Mike LaFleur, I wouldn't have any problems with that. I know that some people give him flack as an offensive coordinator, but I think that he would also do pretty solid with Cam Ward. Like, look, if you can bring in Mike McDaniel or just another decent offensive coordinator, then I'm 100% all in on Robert Saleh. So, but again, there are some worries about his ability to keep the locker room because he did kind of lose it right at the end of his Jets tenure. Now, I'm not saying that was completely on him, but I am saying that is something to consider. And he had to be guided out by security out of the Jets facility. So that could also mean some interesting things for him. But anyway, just overall, I think that he's actually one of the most underrated candidates of this cycle. At number 4, I have Jesse Minter. Now, this is the dude that I put in here as like, he's one of the top head coaching candidates of this entire cycle, right? But here's the thing. I don't think we're getting a top head coaching candidate. You can say sayonara to guys like Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Brady, and you could even potentially say that about Jesse Minter. I think that somebody else will show the money and will make and will make the head coach a lot more interested in going there instead of coming to the Titans. That's my personal opinion, at least. Now, look, you could say something else, and I would 100% agree with, and I would be 100% fine with it. Like, they're interested because Cam Ward or the new stadium. Yes, that could be true, but there is part of me that does 100% believe that, well, Jesse Minter is probably not going to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, but I am interested in him. Like, I do think that he could run the defense well. He has a decent coaching staff back in LA, so I'm sure that he could find a good offensive coordinator somewhere in there, or he could even find a good offensive coordinator somewhere in the Ravens, even. Or you could also, maybe there's a chance that he grew a small connection with the quarterback's coach. I believe it's Davis Webb for the Denver Broncos, and he brings him in. Now, that one's I'm not 100% confident on, but I could see a universe where that is the case. But again, Jesse Minter, I also think is another really solid head coaching candidate. I think that he has an amazing defensive scheme. The only thing that worries me is that I don't know how to describe this. I'm worried that he is not a Mike Macdonald replica as much as he is a Walmart Mike Macdonald. You know what I mean by that? Like, he looks like he would be really like about the same quality on top, but then down below you use the product or taste it and you're just like, yeah, this is different and it's not as good, right? Like, that is something that I do worry about. But again, being able to hang with the Harbaughs, that is a big boost for a coordinator. So that's why he's at my number 4. And number 3, I've been waiting to put him on the list for so long, and I'm so happy I finally did it. I have my man, Anthony Campanile, the defensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, here's the thing, right? As hyped up as I get about him, he's still my number 3 because, again, defensive mind and all that stuff, right? But my gosh, this dude is a very good defensive mind. I know the loss against LA looks really bad right now. That's obvious enough, but I am still standing by my guy with this one. And it feels really weird. I'm putting him on the list this week after they just got absolutely obliterated by the LA Rams. But I am standing by Anthony Campanile on this because I think that he is a great defensive mind. Everywhere he goes, his defenses become turnover machines, as in they consistently do get turnovers. I think that he has connections all throughout the league with the Packers, the Jags, and the Dolphins to try and go get a good offensive coordinator somewhere in there. And again, he has the connection to Borgonzi. They both were at Boston College at one point. They weren't there at the same point, but they were there at one point, which makes me think that maybe that would be interesting for Mike Borgonzi. But anyway, like, I'm telling you, man, this dude, he's also just a great leader. You can just tell. Like, look, if you want, like, just look up what his universal love language is. I can't say it on the show because, again, PG. But whenever you look that up, just trust me, you are going to absolutely fall in love with this man as a head coaching candidate. I think that he would be an absolute rock star, and I think that he would do some great things for this team. But anyway, going into my number 2, Josh Grizzard. Okay, the top 2 is the same. Josh Grizzard at 2, Clint Kubiak at 1. Just 2 really solid offensive minds that I do think have some serious potential to be great head coaches. Specifically, like, I'm starting to really grow on Grizzard, more so just because of his what's the term I'm looking for here? It's more so just because of his amazing way of just building up a great schematics. I'm not wording this right. Okay, hold on. His team said that he was an offensive wizard. You never heard that said about Callahan, for context. Like, I think that he is a great offensive mind, and I think that he doesn't get enough credit for how great of leaps the offense has taken in 2024 and in 2025, just personally at least. But again, I think that he would be great. Clint Kubiak, you've heard me rave about him. I think that he has a timeless offense. I think that he has taken an offense that should have been in a rebuilding year with how they were and has made them absolutely amazing. And just overall, I really like that guy as a head coaching candidate. But nothing's guaranteed, and who knows, I may be completely wrong. Look, I was about to put Callahan as my number 1 way back in the day. So, like, whenever you hear me talk about these guys, take it with a grain of salt. Not because I don't think that, I'm just terrible at head coaching predictions. I mean, I thought Mike Macdonald was going to be pretty good, and obviously I thought Ben Johnson was going to be amazing. But just take that with a grain of salt, right? Like, I'm not right about everything. Anyway, That's it for today's episode. I have Instagram and Twitter under the Titans Rundown if y'all want to go check those out. If you're listening over podcasting, I have a YouTube channel, or if you're listening over Thunder Radio, I have a YouTube channel. So if you want to go check those out, then I would really love for you to do that. And again, thank you all for showing some support to the show. It really means a lot. But anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.